Into the Fog, written by MaithWaiter. Duck, the Great Western engine, had settled nicely as the new station pilot after Percy had been sent to help build the new harbor. He kept the trucks in line, and the coaches all thought of him as a gentleman. The other engines appreciated his work and did enjoy his company, although they were tired of hearing about the Great Western Way all the time. The weather recently on the island had been wet and miserable. Not to mention, a thick fog had rolled in from the sea, making operations on the railway very difficult. Trains had been ordered to run at slow speeds, and headlamps had to be visible at all times. One misty and murky afternoon, Duck was slowly moving about the yard. He was carefully arranging some coaches for Henry's passenger train. As he pushed the coaches through the fog to the platform, he heard a whistle blare out through the station. This took Duck by surprise, and he accidentally shoved the coaches right into the back of Henry.
Ouch! Be careful back there, Duck,
barked Henry.
I say,
squealed one of the coaches.
We thought you were kind and gentle.
Beg pardon, ladies. I was just startled by your whistling, Henry, said Duck as he ran around beside Henry.
My whistling?
asked Henry.
I thought that was you.
Not me, no. I was busy trying to concentrate on seeing through the fog, answered Duck, very confused.
Well, it certainly wasn't me. I never whistled at stations. Gordon wouldn't let me forget it. It isn't wrong, but we just don't do it,
chuckled Henry. The guard then shone his green lamp through the fog, and Henry departed slowly and steadily. Duck, however, was still puzzled. He had never heard a whistle like that before, and he couldn't see any other engine through the fog. Duck worked hard all day. He moved carefully throughout the yards and kept a close eye for anything in the fog. He had worked late into the evening, tidying the yard. Darkness had fallen all over the island, making it even harder to see. He was just shunting some trucks into a siding when he spotted James waiting with a goods train beside him. "What are you doing here?" inquired Duck. "Signalman received news of an engine gallivanting down the line without permission. I've been ordered to stay here until they find it," explained James. "Good gracious, please don't tell me it was Gordon," Duck asked in a panic. No, he's at back of the sheds now. His last train was hours ago," huffed James. "I can't understand how any driver or engine would think it's a good idea to be racing around in this fog, like this." At last, the signalman approached James's cab. "I've ran every signal box and stationed down the main line, but none of them have seen this missing train since, although they all claim to have heard it." "Blimey, you don't think they've crashed, do you?" asked James's fireman. "Well, that's just it. There's been no reports of a crash anywhere down the line. We would have definitely heard about one by now," explained the signalman. "Should I get the breakdown train ready just in case, sir?" Duck asked. "I don't think that will be necessary, Duck," answered the signalman. "I am giving you permission to take your train down the line. Now, James, but please be careful. Keep an eye out for anything." "Yes, sir," answered James as the signalman returned to his box. "Tight car," said Duck. "Don't make the same mistake as this engine." "Trust me, Duck, I'm not that stupid." And James set off into the fog, his trucks clattering behind him. Duck sighed and slowly made his way to the sheds. Duck woke next morning as the firelighter was steaming him up. He peered over to the berth next to James. James was already awake and staring at his buffers.
"Ooh,
How did your run go last night? Asked Duck sleepily. Fine, said James bluntly. No sign of any train or crash. Big fuss over nothing. How strange, commented Duck. Perhaps there was some kind of miscommunication? Well, that miscommunication resulted in my train being very late, snapped James. Duck could see that James was in no mood to chat. So when his crew arrived for work, he quickly puffed out of the sheds and into the foggy yards. To make matters worse, a harsh and stinging rain had begun to fall that morning. Duck had his eyes clenched shut as he pushed Gordon's express coaches to the platform. He sighed with relief as he sat under the station canopy. Suddenly, Duck felt an almighty bump as the coaches shoved into him. "Oof!" he cried as he slipped back slightly. "I appreciate you being here 10 minutes early, Gordon, but you could have at least warned me when you're going to couple up." There was no answer. "Oi, Gordon!" Duck whistled loudly. Still no answer. He let off steam crossly as he reversed over the points to the opposite platform. "First he bumps me, now he doesn't even have the decency to apologize." Just then, a guard ran up to Duck's cab.
The passengers want to get on board this train immediately. They don't want to stand out in the cold anymore. I heard Duck say Gordon was already here, but I can't see anything through this fog.
"Indeed, though he is being rather quiet," answered Duck's driver.
Very well, decided the guard. We'll get this train moving early. I'll tell the station master to alert the signalman about the early start.
The guard helped the passengers on board safely. He then blew his whistle and shone his green lamp through the fog. The train slowly began to crawl out of the station.
What on earth is going on here?
Called a voice. Duck was horrified as Gordon pulled up next to him. "Gordon, but if you're here, who's pulling the train?" cried Duck. A whistle screamed through the station from the head of the train as it continued its slow departure. Sir Topham Hatt barged out of his office and saw the express leaving without Gordon. "Sir, the express has been stolen!" shrieked Duck to Sir Topham Hatt. Sir Topham Hatt fixed his hat and climbed into Duck's cab.
Follow that thief,
he called as Duck puffed away to catch the train. Duck quickly caught up to the train and stopped alongside it. He was shocked as to what he saw. The coaches were slowly moving forward, and the sound of hissing and clanking could be heard clearly. But there was no engine to be seen. Sir Topham Hatt yanked Duck's whistle chain several times to alert the guard. The guard quickly applied the brakes in his coach, and the train began to slow down. Then, with a strong gust of wind, the sound of the engine ceased, and the coaches stopped. Sir Topham Hatt stepped over to the coaches and climbed on board. The passengers were very confused as to what had been going on.
Ladies and gentlemen, I regret to inform you that there has been a fault in the coach's brake lines that we must inspect immediately. Duck will bring your train back to the station, and you are more than welcome to wait in the station cafe. Or we can arrange a bus service if you need so, said Sir Topham Hatt.
He tipped his hat and returned back to the pannier.
Beg pardon, sir, but why didn't you explain to them what happened?
Asked Duck quietly.
Because, my dear Montague, I am not frankly sure what happened,
Sir Topham Hatt said solemnly. He slowly climbed back into Duck's cab. Duck was at a loss for words as he pushed the coaches back to the platform. The coaches were inspected, and given the all clear. The passengers boarded the train once again. Gordon remained silent as he puffed away with the train. Duck wasn't sure, but he reckoned the big blue engine wasn't telling him something.